So, date nights are very important because you get a chance to reconnect, whether it's with your spouse, you're going to build that reconnection. It gives your marriage like the strength and resilience that it needs because you have that connection.
Right.
And a lot of the times we talked about in an episode previously about if you have young kids at home, I think it's very hard because you're a drill sergeant.
Yep.
And you feel like you're constantly barking orders, and that's what your husband sees too, right?
Right. And
It's
you forget. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Beautiful Chaos. I'm Staci Miller.
And I'm Tammy Ramsey.
And today we're going to talk about a fun topic. We're talking about date nights, and this is going to be twofold because we're going to talk about date nights with your spouse, but also how important it is to have dates with your kids and dates with your family, a whole family night out.
Right. I think that the whole thing is the importance of just being together and doing something fun that's not a normal routine thing to do.
Right.
So, date nights are very important because you get a chance to reconnect, whether it's with your spouse, you're going to build that reconnection. It gives your marriage like the strength and resilience that it needs because you have that connection.
Right.
And a lot of the times we talked about in an episode previously about if you have young kids at home, I think it's very hard because you're a drill sergeant.
Yep.
And you feel like you're constantly barking orders, and that's what your husband sees too, right?
Right. And you forget. Yeah.
So it's important for you each to have a moment to spend time together so that you can remember who you are, why you started dating, why you fell in love, all the good things. So why you like each other.
Let's talk about why date nights matter at all. Shall we?
We shall. So they create a higher marital satisfaction, and you just are happier when you're dating your spouse. And I think like a weekly or bi-weekly, monthly, it doesn't matter as long as you're having that.
And we'll talk about ideas for date nights. So I think don't get overwhelmed right in the beginning and think, I don't have time to schedule date nights. We don't have a lot of extra money in the budget to do date nights. We'll talk about ideas later because there's ways to make a date night work in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and some of those you can learn from your teenage kids.
The other statistic is that it really strengthens your commitment to one another.
Right.
So the statistic that Tammy found is that it's 75% increase in your commitment level to one another when you're making that time to take a date night.
And it's a 20% reduction in separation. So, if you're not getting along with your spouse, it's probably because you each have forgotten why you like the other one to begin with. And if you get out and have some alone time together and reconnect, then you'll hopefully remember all that.
Right.
It also builds bonds and creates, gets you out of your routine and creates some long-term stability within your life.
Right.
We've always dated. We've had crazy dates.
Yeah.
I remember one was an anniversary date, and I tease about this one because we got married right before planting season. And at the time we didn't have cows. But I can remember something went wrong, and I think it was when we took over cows. So all of a sudden we have cows, and so now like there was no season for our anniversary anymore.
Yeah.
Like we could only get away for like a night or sometimes just a dinner. And this one particular day, all things went wrong, and our plans just got shot out the window. And so we ended up going to McDonald's drive-thru, and that was our dinner because we didn't have time to do anything else. But it was just Kevin and I, and we still made the best of it. We also had one where my favorite was as a family. Our two kids, the two girls, were the only ones that at the time our son wasn't born. And one of the desert out in Wapai had caught fire. There was a wildfire going, and Kevin was out. He had been disking around the field and stuff, and he was sitting there watching the fire. And so the girls and I packed him up lunch or dinner. It was dinner. Packed him up dinner, and we drove it out there. And that was a date night because even though we're working with him, we're watching the fire, we were joking and laughing and giggling and just made it just a fun time. So I think it's important for you to do family dates and husband dates.
I think a funny date story for me where things kind of went awry. You can make all the best plans in the world, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So we had made a plan to go out of state for the weekend, and we were going to be with some friends the first night, and then the second night was going to be our night to just be with each other. We were going to a different location, and we were just going to have our own dinner, and, you know. So we get out of state. We have a puppy sitter watching our puppy, because we had a brand new puppy at the time. We managed to get the friend date night out of the way, and then as we were on our way to our second location for our personal date night, puppy ran away from home.
Oh, no.
So we had just walked into our hotel, and I turned around and walked straight back up to the check-in counter and said, we can't check in anymore. You know, we just walked away. I haven't even been to the room. Please check us back out. Please, you know, if you can, refund the room. If you can't, I don't care. Drove not quite the speed limit, 2 hours home, dog still missing. And
you had friends and family that pitched in trying to help find
the tribe of people that came to our rescue to help look for our dog was just massive. And unfortunately, wherever she was not coming out. And then, you know, we got home and got settled, and I just sat in the window like this and just stared out the window for about an hour. And sure enough, all of a sudden I saw this little face coming up to the door and hurried to open the door and let her in, and puppy came back home safe. But I think the point is that, you know, we best laid plans
don't always work.
It doesn't always work. But in the end, what we realized what was most important was that we got home safe. Our dog got home safe. We had each other. We had the dog. And really, whatever it was we missed out on that night wasn't that important in the long run. It was important we got our puppy back.
Well, yeah. And you bonded through that experience
we did.
As well, because you were supporting each other and there for each other. So
well, and I think we realized just how much our little puppy meant to both of us because we were both very on board right away. And it was just such a blessing to see what an amazing tribe of people came through for us to try and help us out. I wished for one of them that they could have found our dog because I think it would have been so great if one of them could have been like, I did it. But that little turd just wandered her own way home eventually. But, you know, you can make all the plans in the world, but in the end, it just as a matter of spending time together and enjoying each other's company, however that looks.
Exactly. You got to take what you can. And I want to talk about the importance of dating your kids because I think that, especially if you have multiple children, it's really important.
And multiple genders.
Yes.
If you have boys and girls, they date and differently, and they want different things from a dad date with the son, a dad date with the daughter, and vice versa. That's a very different looking date night.
Right. And I think it's important. Well, two things, you know, I mean, it's the connection with your child that's important, and you're getting that one-on-one time with them, and they're feeling totally special and extra loved, I think. Yeah. And then there's the education of the moment. So, you know, with our daughter, I had to tell my husband, but I'm like, you make sure you open doors, you pull out chairs, you treat her the way you expect a boy to treat her when she does grow up and date. And I think she was only like, 9 or 10. But I was like, you treat her the way she should be treated. And then when our son came along, when I would take our son out, it would look like him opening doors for me and doing chairs for me, and how it's, you just want to focus on that person that you're spending that time with.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, when I did the one-on-one date nights with kids, because I had just a boy and a girl, very close in age. And so anytime it was the three of us, because it was the three of us for a long time.
Yeah.
But when it was just the three of us, it was always a compromise. My son had to watch a lot of Disney princess movies, or my daughter had to watch a lot of Cars movies and plane movies, And so when it could be a one-on-one, which the other bonus to that was when, our last episode, if you watched it or listened to it, we talked about divorce. So the way I would plan it is, just my son would go to his dad's one weekend, and me and my daughter would have, go get our nails done or stay home and do each other's nails.
Yeah.
And boy, that paid off.
Yeah.
She does my nails now
Professional.
professionally.
My nails too. She's awesome.
But she got to pick the movie that we watched, whether it was at home or I took her to the movie theater because there was a new princess movie out, or she got to pick the restaurant all by herself. There was no compromising because when it was all three of us together, everything was a compromise all the time, which I think was a great skill to teach the kids.
Yes.
But then when they had that alone time, so then, vice versa, maybe the next weekend or a few weekends later, I would just send my daughter to her dad's house. I'd keep my son. And then it was just full on like play hard all weekend. We went to the jump place and jumped and trampoline park. And again, he got to pick wherever he wanted to go for some gross dinner. And it was all, it was all his choosing. But just giving them that freedom to think that their opinions matter and that their time is important, and it's really fun to just hear what they have to say.
Oh yes,
when there's no other siblings around and they just want to have a talk with you.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's precious time.
And I want to point out that we would rotate. One person would stay home with the child and do fun things, and then the other person would take the child out.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we need to express that it doesn't matter if you don't have the money to go out to do the things with your kids or your spouse. There's plenty that you can do that's an at-home thing.
Right.
Either watch a movie with your kid, but make it fun and make it special. Don't be on your phone. Make sure that you're discussing the movie or whatever. Have popcorn. Have a little special treat that you can tie into that moment. My grandkids like to do tents in the living room. And so we make a fort in the living room with chairs and blankets, Yeah. And we put on a movie and we make popcorn and all the things. And of course the living room's a wreck, but it's so fun and they enjoy that. So those things are not only building memories, but you're building bonds with your children and you're strengthening your relationships with your child.
They're always going to remember, I used to love watching this movie with mom or with grandma or, but again, even with your spouse, like you said, it's important, even if you're just staying home, that you're picking your favorite movie to watch or have really great board games around, like a solid night of fighting over Monopoly is fun.
Oh, we were in Catan. Ooh, yeah, that's a fun game. We play that with the kids, but it was pretty
but I think it's important.
We play cards too.
Oh, cards, absolutely. Cards. I think it's also important to, like Tammy said, make sure you're putting your phone away. That when you decided that it's date night, it's one-on-one time, that's exactly what it is. So let's talk about some different types of dates that we can do, both with our spouses and with our kids. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I love miniature golf, either just for my husband and I or the grandkids or the kids. Bowling, like all those things. Some of the best times though are just at home doing board games and card games because I'm a game player. I love those things. Or just going for a drive. That's even a great date thing. Like we'll go drive across the desert and just go check out the desert area or whatever. So we love things like that.
Yeah, we love going for a drive. I think there's two different ways to do that. There's one where you're blasting the music and you both are just jamming out to whatever music you like.
Yes.
And then there's like the quiet drives where the music's off, but you guys get to talk and reconnect. Yeah. And just remember that when you have that quiet time and that away time, because if you get yourself out of the house, no matter what it costs, whether it's just a drive or taking a walk, we love to go and take walks, that once you get yourself out of the house and you're no longer thinking about, well, that corner over there looks like it needs to be dusted, and
I gotta do
those dishes those dishes are sure calling my name. Those are constant distractions that we're always hearing when we're at home. But when you go for a walk, you go for a drive, you get yourself out of the house for whatever reason, spend that time visiting and catching up and talking about, how are you feeling, what's going on, what's on your schedule, what do things look like. For me recently, my schedule is getting busier and busier. And so I noticed that a couple weeks ago, and then about a week ago, I think I said to my husband, I'm about to get really busy. So let's schedule a date night because I'm going to miss you. Yeah. So we sat down and we picked a day on the calendar and we made a plan and we know what we're doing. And fingers crossed that we'll have a good date night. But it's not just about those big plans, like you said. We, take a drive, take a walk, play a game. Games are great.
Yeah, games are
highly
fabulous.
competitive.
Yes,
it doesn't always bring out the best in me.
No.
But it's fun because I like to win.
Yeah.
But
it is fun.
Yeah, it definitely brings out a lot in your personality.
But
you play games.
When my husband and I first met, when it was down at the river, and they played volleyball, jungle ball, we called it, with all these young kids. They were 17, 18, maybe in their 20s. I don't know. They seemed really young. Anyways, but we would play volleyball, and I am a crap talker. I will just give you the biggest ball of crap, and I was doing that to my husband from the moment I met him, and he was flipping it right back at me, and so we still do that when we play games.
Yeah.
That watch me kick your butt kind of stuff. And
right.
So it's nice to play a game and be reminded of what it was when you were younger. That's another thing is think about dates that you had before you got married, and you can recreate those dates. I was talking about if you have teenagers, sometimes you can learn from teenagers, because I had somebody tell me about a date that they went on, and I couldn't tell you which kid it was, or if it even was one of my kids. I adopt so many. So, anyways, but they talked about going to the grocery store, and each aisle, like if they went down the cereal aisle, they would say, now, tell me what box of cereal would represent your personality and why.
Interesting.
Like a very get to know you kind of first date thing.
Right.
But I thought, after being married for 28 years, that it would still be nice to go and do something like that.
Yeah.
Because you think you know someone, but then there's still some deep down under stuff that might surprise you. Or because you change. You change and you grow throughout the years. But it's nice to
want to remember to change and grow together.
Yes.
So, and not apart. So as you're changing and growing, and you continue to do these connections and getting together and communicating, that you are maintaining that connection and to grow together. Exactly.
Yeah. But I thought that was just that sounded like a fun tip. And then my granddaughter went on one where they played tag in Walmart. I apologize, Walmart.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think I would want to do that.
That's
not one I would pick up.
Had a blast. It was like hide and seek tag.
Yeah.
So they just thought that was the most fun ever. I mean, think about it as
I love the creativity.
Right? Think about it, as a young kid, like how many times you lose your kids in a Walmart because they're hiding in the clothes rack because they're playing hide and seek and you don't even know.
Right.
So they just relived their childhood. So relive your earlier dates, and then also think about, as a child, what you might have enjoyed when your parents took you somewhere, because I come from divorce, right? So, my dad experience was a lot different. He did take me a lot of places. I mean, he took me out to dinner at very nice places, and we went out in a raft once, and that did not come out well. I had nightmares for days, but I mean, all is well. But he would always find something fun for us to do. So,
and I think that as your, relationships change, you continue to reconnect, but also as your kids get older, it's okay to still do the same thing. Either whether it be, hey, take just your son or just your daughter, somebody out for a day, go get pedicures with your daughter, go to see a movie or something with your son. But also you can double date, you and your husband go out with your daughter and her husband, or you go out with your son and his wife, and have a double date with each other, because when you get the whole family together, it's a completely different dynamic.
Yeah.
Than when you're just, again, 1-on-1 or 2-to-2, and maybe you're going to get to know them as a couple a little bit better, and how they're doing and how they're feeling, connecting, where you guys are at with your relationships, but continue to let those relationships grow too. And again, we get really busy and it's really hard, and I can definitely speak to that, but one thing I think that helps me is I always keep like I think you do the same thing. I keep like a running calendar on my fridge. I have 2 calendars running on my phone. I have a lot of things written in a lot of places and post-it notes and reminders. And anyway, somewhere in all of that, as you're planning your life, and for sure, I think when I look at a month at a glance, when I'm doing my monthly calendar, it's a lot easier to see, wow, I'm packed. And this is the only place in this calendar I'm not packed. And yeah, you could easily look at that and say, well, this is going to be a great day to like wind down and do nothing.
Watch Netflix and do nothing. Yeah.
But maybe you find a way to get something else out of that downtime if you've got a couple of days or a couple of weekends in a month where you've got a little bit of downtime. How can you make the most of it?
Yeah, and that's great. I've never thought of doing I think when the kids were first married before grandkids, we would spend time with them like that. But now we go and visit the kids in Boise, and it's like we're taking the grandkids somewhere and giving the mom and dad a break.
Yes,
but we do all hang out and enjoy each other's company,
which I think is great because those parents are young and in the throes of crazy parenting when all the kids are super busy. And 3 boys, yeah. So giving them a break so they can reconnect and so they can have a date night is great. That's really important.
Yeah. But I do like the idea of and a lot of times we get together as a whole family.
Sure.
And we let the kids just run wild. I have a stair slide. We throw that up and that entertains them for hours. So us adults can either visit together, play games together, whatever, and try to build that connection. So those are really good times. But all of that is important. Dating your family, dating your spouse.
Right.
One thing I'd like to point out is, you dating your kids, but one thing I want to point out is that your kids eventually leave home and all you have is your spouse. So you better like them, you better have a strong connection, and have some things that you're working towards together.
Yeah.
For sure.
Goals, have the next dream, the next step, the next vacation, the next whatever.
That's my favorite. Vacations. Let's plan a vacation.
Right. Even if it's camping in your backyard or taking the tent out to a local spot where you're not having to go too far, but plan the next thing that you can look forward to with your spouse. Because like you said, once the kids are out of the house, I hope you like your spouse because you're spending all your time with them now. Or at least the majority of it. And you want that to be a really strong relationship and something that you are continually putting an investment in. We've talked about a few times now how, we make a lot of choices every day and that life is a choice. Your relationships are a choice, but also choosing to prioritize those relationships is also a choice.
Yes,
so
100%.
So I think the challenge is one, to plan a date night, obviously. So if you're not much of a planner and you don't keep like a calendar or maybe even a to-do list, if you've got a little writing pad near your refrigerator, something like that, maybe just start off with a couple of ideas for date nights that you can have stewing in the back of your mind, and then just finally have a conversation where you pick a day and you decide that that's the day that you guys do a date night.
I like that.
And then from there, try and do some date nights with kids and then just keep those going however they look. And keep dating your spouse, keep dating your family. We live in a very, very busy time where it's easy to get distracted by your phone. It's easy to get distracted by the internet. It's easy to get distracted by 100 activities that kids can be involved in at any given time. And sometimes date night might just look like dinner on the table because as much as we want to say that that's easy to do every night, it's not. And so even if it's dinner on the table once a week and the rest of the time you're grabbing and going, but make that time a priority.
Yeah, exactly. 100% agree with all that. And if you're not a planner, you're more of a spontaneous person, maybe your spouse is the planner. Go to your spouse and say, hey, I'd really like to do some date nights, but I'm not great at organizing. So maybe you could maybe be in charge of putting together us a date night.
And if they're not interested,
that's
plan something. And then maybe the next time they'll decide to plan something and you trade off. Yeah.
And maybe it's not even planned. Maybe it is just, hey,
jump in the car and go.
There's a fire in the desert. Let's go bring Dad dinner and go enjoy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're not even going to announce our next episode because we're...
Yeah, stay tuned and keep watching, keep listening, And most importantly, stay
Stay empowered.